The silence of space was broken by a sharp beeping sound on the bridge of the galactic research vessel Harmony's Edge. Captain Veltar looked up from his daily reports, his tall blue frame moving with the grace that all Zephyrians possessed. His translucent skin seemed to glow softly in the ship's bioluminescent lighting as he turned toward the source of the alarm. "What is that sound?" he asked, his voice carrying the musical quality of his species. Chief Science Officer Crixena, a mantis-like being with 4 arms and compound eyes, looked up from her instrument panel. Her delicate fingers moved quickly across the organic controls that grew from the ship's living walls. "Captain, we have detected unusual meteor activity in Sector 7. The readings are strange. These meteors contain metals I have never seen." Before Veltar moved to the viewing screen, which rippled like water before showing the space around them. The asteroid belt they were studying for valuable minerals stretched out in all directions. It should have been a routine mission, just another day of scientific research in the outer territories of galactic space. How strange can meteors be? He asked, though something in his experienced mind told him this was not going to be as simple. Matter, before Crixena could answer, the ship shuddered violently. Emergency lights began flashing throughout the bridge, casting red shadows on the curved walls. The ship's AI, speaking in the calm voice that all Zephyrian ships used, announced, "Hull breach detected. Unknown metallic contamination spreading through sections 4, 5, and 6. Veltar felt his heart sink. In all his years of commanding research vessels, he had never faced anything like this. "Show me the damage," he ordered. The viewing screen changed to show the ship's hull. Where the meteors had struck, the bioorganic material that made up their ship was changing color. The normal healthy green was turning to an ugly brown, and the contamination was spreading like a disease through the ship's living systems. "Meteors are not just hitting us," Crixena reported, her voice rising with worry. "The metals they contain are poisoning our ship. Our biosystems cannot fight this contamination. It is eating through our hull like acid." Another crew member, a young Zephyrian named Torwin, spoke up from his station. "Captain, life support is failing in the contaminated sections. We have already lost main power to the engines. If this continues, we will lose everything." Veltar closed his eyes for a moment, trying to think. His ship was dying around him, and there was nothing his advanced technology could do to stop it. The irony was bitter. They were one of the most scientifically advanced species in the galaxy, yet they were being defeated by simple space rocks. "How long do we have?" he asked quietly. "At the current rate of contamination spread, complete system failure in 6 hours, Crixena replied. "Maybe less, if the contamination reaches the life support core." The bridge fell silent except for the constant beeping of alarms. Veltar looked at his crew, seeing the fear in their faces. These were good people, scientists and explorers who had dedicated their lives to expanding knowledge. They did not deserve to die in the cold emptiness of space. "Send a distress signal," he ordered. "Use all emergency frequencies. Someone out there might hear us." Torwin began working at his station, his fingers moving over the controls with practiced speed. "Message prepared, Captain. Transmitting now on all galactic emergency channels." The distress signal raced out into space, carrying with it the hopes of the dying ship. The message was simple but desperate. "This is Captain Veltar of the research vessel Harmony's Edge. We are experiencing critical system failure due to unknown metallic contamination. Life support failing. Request immediate assistance. Any vessel receiving this message, please respond." We have 37 crew members. Aboard, meanwhile, thousands of miles away, the human exploration vessel, New Frontier, was conducting its own mission. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, reviewing reports from the science team. At 52 years old, he was a veteran of both military service and space exploration. His gray hair and lined face told the story of a life spent in dangerous places, but his steady hands and calm voice showed he had never lost his nerve. Captain called Communications Officer Beth Williams from her station. "I'm picking up something on the emergency frequencies. It's not in any language our computers recognize, but the mathematical patterns suggest it's a distress call." Morrison turned toward her. "Can you clean it up? Get us a better signal?" "Working on it now, sir." Beth's fingers flew over her controls. She was young, only 25, but she had a gift for languages and communication that made her invaluable. To the crew, there, I'm getting clearer reception now. The bridge fell quiet as they listened to the alien message. Even though they could not understand the words, the desperation in the voice was clear. The mathematical sequences that followed were universal coordinates, time measurements, and what appeared to be a countdown. Dr. Parker Morrison called to his science officer. What do you make of this? Dr. Lisa Parker, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from her analysis tablet. At 38, she had spent her career studying the possibility of alien life, but she had never expected to encounter it like this. Captain, the mathematical patterns are consistent with Galactic standard emergency protocols. If this is real, someone out there is in serious trouble. Chief Engineer Rick Coleman joined the conversation from his position at the engineering station. Captain, those coordinates put them about 6 hours away at maximum speed. If we're going to help, we need to decide now. As Morrison looked around. His crew was small but experienced. Besides Beth, Dr. Parker, and Coleman, he had Security Chief Tony Davis and a handful of other specialists. They were explorers, not a rescue ship, but they were also the only ones who seemed to be receiving this distress call. What are the risks? He asked.
Unknown.
Dr. Parker replied honestly. We don't know what kind of being sent this message or what kind of situation they're in. It could be dangerous. Could be a trap, added Security Chief Davis. He was a careful man who always considered the worst possibilities. We don't know anything about whoever sent this. Morrison nodded, understanding their concerns. He had spent enough years in command to know that good intentions could lead to disaster if not balanced with caution. But he also knew that ignoring a distress call went against everything he believed in. Communications. Can you send a response? He asked. I can try, sir, Beth replied. I think I can use the same mathematical patterns they used to show we received their message and are coming to help. Do it, Morrison ordered. Then set course for those coordinates. Maximum speed. As the New Frontier changed course toward the distress signal, neither the human crew nor the dying aliens could imagine what was about to happen. The aliens had heard stories about humans, the mysterious Deathworlders who came from a planet so dangerous that it had forged them into something different from other species. In their culture, such beings were considered myths or warnings about the dangers of the unknown. The humans, meanwhile, were about to make first contact with an advanced alien civilization. They had no idea that their reputation had preceded them across the galaxy, or that their very existence was considered both fascinating and terrifying by other species, as both ships moved toward their fateful meeting. The universe was about to learn that sometimes the most unexpected heroes are exactly what the galaxy needs. The distress call that had started as a cry for help would become the beginning of something much larger, a new understanding between species that would change both their worlds forever. The countdown continued on the dying alien ship, and the New Frontier raced through space toward an encounter that would test everything both species thought they knew about each other. The New Frontier moved through space like a shark cutting through dark water. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the star field ahead change as they approached the coordinates from the distress signal. The ship's engines hummed with steady power, pushing them toward what might be humanity's first real contact with alien life. How long until we reach them? Morrison asked. 4 hours and 20 minutes at current speed, replied Chief Engineer Rick Coleman. All systems are running at maximum efficiency. Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her science station, where she had been working non-stop since they received the alien message. Captain, I've been analyzing the signal patterns. The mathematical sequences are incredibly sophisticated. Whoever sent this message has technology that's far more advanced than ours. Morrison nodded, his face showing the weight of command. What else can you tell me about them? The signal suggests they understand Galactic standard emergency protocols. That means they're part of some kind of larger civilization, and not just one isolated species. Dr. Parker paused, looking at her data again. Captain, I think we're about to meet representatives of an entire galactic community. The bridge fell silent as the crew considered this. It always wondered if humanity was alone in the universe. but they had never imagined they might be the newcomers joining something that already existed. Communications, Morrison called. Are you making any progress with their language? Beth Williams turned from her station, her young face showing both excitement and frustration. Trying, Captain. I've identified what might be pronouns and verbs, but their language structure is completely different from anything human. It's like trying to translate music into mathematics. Keep working on it, Morrison ordered. We need to be able to communicate when we arrive. Meanwhile, aboard the Harmony's Edge, the situation was growing more desperate by the hour. The contamination from the strange meteors had spread through half the ship, and the bioorganic systems were failing faster than anyone had predicted. Captain Veltar stood in his command center, which was now lit only by emergency power. The beautiful bioluminescent walls that had once glowed with soft life were now dim and sick-looking. His crew worked frantically around him, trying to slow the contamination, but everyone knew they were fighting a losing battle. Report, he ordered quietly. Crixena looked up from her instruments, her compound eyes reflecting the red emergency lights. The contamination has reached the life support core. We have perhaps 3 hours before complete system failure, maybe less. Have we received any response to our distress signal? Veltar asked. Yes, Captain, replied Torwin from his communication station. We received a mathematical response 2 hours ago. Someone is coming to help us. Veltar asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. Torwin hesitated. The signal characteristics suggest, Captain, I think it might be coming from a human vessel. The bridge became very quiet. Every crew member turned to look at their captain, fear clear in their faces. They had all heard the stories about humans, the Deathworlders, who came from a planet so dangerous that it had made them into something terrifying. Are you certain? Belter asked. Oh. The technology patterns match what we know about human engineering, Torwin replied. Heavy use of metals, primitive but effective power systems, and communication methods that suggest they think in very direct ways. Crixena's forearms trembled slightly. They fight constantly, even among themselves. They come from a world where everything tries to kill them, so they learn to kill first. The stories also say they eat other intelligent species, added another crew member. Veltar held up his hand for silence. Those are just stories. We do not know what is true and what is fear. But privately, the captain was worried. The tales about humans had spread throughout the galaxy for decades. They were described as beings who could survive in environments that would kill other species, who fought wars that lasted for years, and who had turned their entire planet into a weapon-making factory. Some said they were barely civilized, held back from total savagery only by their own laws. Captain Crixena said softly, "What if they do not come to help us? What if they come to take advantage of our weakness? Then we will face that. When it happens," Velta replied, "right now, they are our only hope." Back on the new frontier, the crew was preparing for what might be the most important moment in human history. Dr. Parker had assembled everything they knew about potential alien contact protocols, while Security Chief Tony Davis was quietly preparing defensive measures in case things went wrong. "Captain Beth Williams!" called out suddenly. "I'm getting something new from the alien ship. It's like they're trying to send us pictures." On the main screen, rough images began to appear. They showed a ship that looked nothing like any human vessel. It was curved and organic, more like a living creature than a machine. The images also showed damage, large sections of the ship that were clearly dying or dead. "My God," Dr. Parker whispered. "It's beautiful and it's alive." "What do you mean alive?" "Captain, I think their ship is actually a living organism. It's grown, not built. It's why the contamination is spreading like a disease, because it literally is a disease to them." The images continued, showing alien figures moving through the ship. They were tall and thin, with blue skin that seemed to glow softly. They moved with a grace that was almost like dancing, but the pictures also showed their obvious distress. "And fear, they're nothing like what I expected," Coleman said quietly. "They look peaceful."
Ow.
"Looks can be deceiving," Davis warned. "We need to be ready for anything." Morrison studied the images carefully. These beings were clearly suffering, and they had reached out to humanity for help. Whatever they had heard about humans, they were desperate enough to ask for assistance. "How long until we reach them?" he asked. 1 hour and 40 minutes, Coleman replied. "Dr. Parker, I want you to prepare everything we might need for first. Contact, medical supplies, communication equipment, whatever you think might help. Davis, I want you to prepare a security team, but make sure they understand this is a rescue mission, not a combat operation." "Yes, sir." Both officers replied as the New Frontier continued toward its destination. Both crews were struggling with fear and uncertainty. The aliens feared that the humans would be the savage warriors of legend, while the humans worried about making contact with beings whose technology was far beyond their own. Captain Beth Williams said, "I think I've made a breakthrough with their language. I keep using a sequence that I think means please or help. And there's another sequence that might mean thank you." Morrison nodded. "That's a start. Keep working on it." On the alien ship, the crew watched their instruments as the human vessel approached. The ship that appeared on their screens was nothing like their own elegant biovessels. It was angular and harsh, covered in armor plating and weapon systems. Every line of its design suggested it was built for war. "It looks like a weapon," one crew member whispered. "Maybe that is what we need right now," Veltar replied. "A weapon to fight the contamination that is killing us." The moment of first contact was approaching rapidly. Neither species knew what to expect, but both were about to learn that the universe was full of surprises. The aliens would discover that the terrifying Deathworlders of legend were actually beings capable of great compassion and heroism. The humans would learn that they were not alone in the universe, that their unique strengths could help others in ways they had never imagined. As the two ships moved toward each other through the darkness of space, the future of both species hung in the balance. The distress call that had started as a cry for help was about to become the beginning of something. The New Frontier dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a shudder that ran through the entire ship. Captain Jake Morrison gripped his command chair as the stars shifted back to their normal positions around them. Ahead, floating in the darkness of space, was something that took his breath away. The alien ship was massive, easily 3 times the size of the New Frontier, but what made it truly amazing was its appearance. It looked like a giant sea creature swimming through space, with smooth curves and flowing lines that seemed to pulse with dim light. However, large sections of the beautiful vessel were dark and lifeless, like wounds on a living thing. "There she is," Morrison said quietly. "Dr. Parker, what are your readings?" Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her instruments, her face showing both wonder and concern. "Captain, I was right. This ship is definitely alive, or it was alive. The dark sections they're dead. Whatever hit them is killing their ship like a disease." "How many life signs?" Morrison asked. 37, just like they said in their distress call. They're all gathered in the central section of the ship, probably the only part that still has working life support. Chief Engineer Rick Coleman studied the alien vessel through the viewing screen. "Captain, I can see the damage from here. Those aren't just holes in the hull. The metal around the impact points is changing color. It's like rust, but it's spreading."
Oh.
Security Chief Tony Davis stood ready at his station. "Captain, I've got the away team prepared. Medical supplies, engineering tools, and emergency life support equipment. We're ready to go whenever you give the order." Morrison nodded, then turned to Communications Officer Beth Williams. "Beth, can you contact them? Let them know we're here to help." "I'll try, Captain."
S.
Beth worked at her controls, sending a message, using the mathematical patterns they had established. After a moment, she looked up. "I'm getting a response. It's, Captain, I think they're afraid of us." "What makes you say that?" "The patterns in their message, they're using what I think are formal, respectful phrases, like they're trying not to make us angry." Morrison frowned. "Send them a message back. Use the friendliest mathematical patterns you can. Let them know we're here to help, not to hurt them." On the alien ship, Captain Veltar stood in his dying command center, watching the human vessel through what remained of his viewing systems. The ship that faced them was everything the stories had said: angular, armored, and clearly built for war. Weapon systems were visible along its hull, and its movements were precise and aggressive. Captain Crixana said, her voice shaking slightly. They're sending another message. The tone seems ... peaceful. But how can we trust beings who come from a world of constant violence? We have no choice, Veltar replied. Our ship is dying, and they are our only hope. The human ship moved closer, and the aliens could see small craft launching from it. These were the human shuttles, carrying the away team that would either save them or destroy them. Aboard the lead shuttle, Morrison sat with his team as they approached the alien ship. Besides himself, the team included Dr. Parker, Engineer Coleman, Security Chief Davis, and 2 other crew members. They all wore environmental suits, not knowing what they would find inside the alien vessel. Remember, Morrison said over the comm system, we're here to help. These beings are in trouble, and we're going to do everything we can to save them. Stay calm, stay professional, and follow my lead. Captain, Dr. Parker said, I'm reading their atmosphere. It's different from ours, but not poisonous. We should be able to work in it if we need to. The shuttle docked with the alien ship through an airlock that seemed to grow from the hull to meet them. As they stepped through, the humans found themselves in a world unlike anything they had ever imagined. The corridors of the alien ship were curved and organic, with walls that seemed to pulse with their own light. The air had a sweet smell, like flowers, but underneath it was the sour odor of sickness and decay. Everything around them was beautiful, but dying. My God, Dr. Parker whispered. It's like being inside a living creature. They were met by a group of aliens who approached slowly, their movements graceful but cautious. The beings were tall and thin, with blue skin that glowed softly in the dim light. Their faces were elongated and elegant. With large eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom, Captain Veltar stepped forward. Morrison could see the fear in his alien features, but there was also dignity and hope. When Veltar spoke, his voice was musical and beautiful, even though the humans could not understand the words. Dr. Parker Morrison said quietly, Can you get the translator working? I'm trying, Captain. Give me a moment. She worked with a small device that Beth had programmed with the language patterns they had discovered. After a few seconds, they began to hear words they could understand. Welcome to our ship, Veltar said, his translated voice carrying uncertainty. We're ... grateful ... that you have come, though we did not expect ... Deathworlders ... to answer our call. Morrison stepped forward, removing his helmet so the aliens could see his face. Several of them stepped back in fear, but Veltar held his ground. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel New Frontier. We received your distress signal and came to help. We mean you no harm. The aliens looked at each other in surprise. Morrison's voice was calm and respectful, not the harsh growl they had expected from a Deathworlder. You ... You came to help us? Veltar asked. Not to conquer or destroy. We came to help, Morrison repeated firmly. That's what we do when someone is in trouble. Dr. Parker stepped forward, her medical scanner in her hands. Captain Veltar, we understand your ship is dying. We'd like to help your injured crew members and see if we can stop the contamination. Crixina approached cautiously, her compound, eyes fixed on the strange beings before her. You are different from the stories we have heard about humans. What stories? Arson asked. That you are warriors who know only violence. That you come from a world so terrible that it made you into killing machines. Crixina's voice was soft and uncertain. Coleman laughed, a sound that made several aliens jump. I'm sorry, he said quickly. I didn't mean to scare you. It's just, yes, our world is dangerous, and yes, we know how to fight when we have to. But we're explorers and scientists, just like you. Davis stepped forward, his movements slow and non-threatening. We're here to protect and help, not to hurt anyone. That's what we do. As the humans began to work with the aliens, both sides started to learn about each other. The aliens were amazed by the humans' immediate focus on helping rather than conquering. These Deathworlders were nothing like the savage warriors of legend. They were competent, caring, and completely dedicated to saving lives. the humans. Meanwhile, we're impressed by the aliens' advanced technology and scientific knowledge. These beings had created living ships that could travel between stars, medical systems that could heal injuries humans couldn't even imagine, and technologies that seemed like magic. "Show us the damage," Morrison said. "Let us see what we're dealing with." Veltar led them through the ship, showing them the sections that were dying. The contamination was spreading like a cancer, turning the beautiful bioorganic systems into dead gray matter. "Our ship cannot fight this," Veltar explained. "The metals in those meteors are unlike anything in our databases. They are poison to our biosystems." Coleman studied the contaminated areas with his engineering scanner. "Captain, this is similar to heavy metal poisoning. We've dealt with this kind of thing on Earth. Our industrial processes have given us experience with toxic metal contamination." "Can you help us?" Crexina asked hopefully. "We can try," Coleman replied, "but we'll need to work together. Your technology and our experience might be the combination we need." As the joint human-alien team began to assess the situation, both species realized they were at the beginning of something extraordinary. The humans were proving that their reputation as dangerous Deathworlders was only half the story. They were also natural protectors and problem solvers. The aliens were discovering that their advanced civilization could benefit from the practical, hands-on approach that humans had learned on their harsh world. The rescue operation was just beginning. But already both sides were changing their understanding of each other. The distress call that had brought them together was becoming the foundation for something much larger, a partnership that could benefit both species and perhaps the entire galaxy. The work began immediately. Chief Engineer Rick Coleman and the alien engineer Crixana stood together in the dying ship's engine room. Studying the contamination that was slowly killing the vessel, the scene around them was both beautiful and terrifying. Organic walls that had once pulsed with life now hung gray and lifeless, while the remaining healthy sections glowed with soft bioluminescence. "In my experience," Coleman said, holding up his scanner, "this kind of metal poisoning needs to be neutralized at the source. We can't just treat the symptoms, we have to stop the spread." Crixina's compound eyes studied the human's equipment. "With fascination, your technology is so different from ours. We grow our tools from living matter, but yours are made from dead metals and crystals, yet they seem to work just as well." "Different doesn't mean wrong," Coleman replied with a smile. "Your biotechnology is amazing. I've never seen anything like it. But sometimes you need brute force solutions for brute force problems." Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Parker had set up a medical station in what the aliens called their healing chamber. The room was filled with soft, glowing plants that seemed to respond to the presence of injured beings. Several alien crew members lay on beds that had grown from the floor, their blue skin pale and their breathing shallow. "These injuries are from the contamination," explained the ship's healer, a gentle alien named Silahan. "The poisonous metals are affecting their biosystems. Our healing plants cannot help them." Dr. Parker examined one of the patients with her medical scanner. "The contamination is acting like heavy metal poisoning in humans. I think I can help." She prepared a treatment that she had modified for alien physiology. This should help their bodies process the toxins. Silahan watched in amazement as the human medicine began to work. "How did you know what to do? You've never seen our species before?" "Life is life," Dr. Parker said simply. "The basic principles are the same everywhere. We all need clean air, clean water, and freedom from poison." In the contaminated sections of the ship, Security Chief Tony Davis was leading a team of humans and aliens through the most dangerous areas. The air was thick with toxic fumes, and the bioorganic walls were crumbling around them. Only the humans could survive in these conditions for more than a few minutes. "Stay close," Davis told the aliens who were guiding them. "We'll get in, install Coleman's neutralization devices, and get out quickly." A young alien named Zareth watched the humans work with wonder. "You are not afraid of this poison?" "We're afraid," Davis replied honestly. "But we've learned to work through fear. Our world taught us that sometimes you have to go into dangerous places to help others." The humans moved through the toxic environment with practiced efficiency. They had trained for hazardous conditions their entire careers. This was just another challenge to overcome. Back in the engine room, Coleman and Crixina had made a breakthrough. Working together, they had developed a hybrid solution that combined human industrial techniques with alien biotechnology. Your neutralization process is brilliant, Crixina said, her voice filled with excitement. But if we combine it with our biofilters, we can not only stop the contamination, but help the ship heal itself. Coleman nodded, understanding the elegance of her solution. Your people think in living systems, while we think in mechanical ones. Together, we can create something neither of us could make alone. They worked side by side, the human's practical approach complementing the alien's theoretical knowledge perfectly. Coleman showed Crixina how to build sturdy containment systems, while she taught him how to work with living materials that could adapt and grow. Captain Jake Morrison moved through the ship with Captain Veltar, coordinating the rescue efforts. Despite their different species and cultures, both men were natural leaders who understood the weight of command. Your people are remarkable, Veltar said as they watched humans and aliens working together throughout the ship. We expected warriors, but you are healers and builders as well. We're whatever we need to be, Morrison replied. Our world made us tough, but it also taught us to take care of each other. When someone is in trouble, you help them. It's that simple. Veltar looked at the human captain with new respect. On our worlds, we have forgotten what it means to fight for survival. We have lived in comfort for so long that we became soft. Perhaps we need to learn from your strength. We need to learn from your wisdom, Morrison said. Your technology, your knowledge, your peaceful way of life. These are things we can only dream of. The crisis moment came when alarms began sounding throughout the ship. The contamination had reached the ship's biocore, the living heart that kept the entire vessel alive. If it failed, nothing could save them. We need someone to go into the core chamber, Coleman announced over the communications system. Neutralization device has to be installed manually, but the environment in there will kill anyone who isn't protected. How long will it take? Morrison asked. Maybe 30 if there are complications, Coleman replied. But Captain, the radiation levels in there are lethal. Even our environmental suits won't protect us for long. Morrison looked around at his crew. They were all volunteers, all willing to risk their lives to save these aliens they had just met. I'll go, he said. No, Captain, Davis said firmly. This is a job for security. I'll take a team. I will go with you, Veltar said suddenly. It is my ship. My responsibility. You can't survive in there, Morrison protested. Perhaps not, Veltar replied, but I can guide you to the exact location. I know every corridor of this ship. The argument was settled when Dr. Parker spoke up. I've been monitoring the biocores. Readings? We need someone who understands both human technology and alien biosystems. Coleman should go with Davis for protection and Veltar for guidance. Coleman nodded grimly. It's our best chance. The three beings, human engineer, human, security chief, and alien captain, made their way through the dying ship toward its heart. The corridors became stranger and more organic as they went deeper, until they were walking through passages that pulsed like blood vessels. The core is just ahead, Veltar said, his voice weak from the toxic atmosphere. But I do not think I can go much further. You've done enough, Davis said, supporting the alien captain. Coleman, can you handle the installation alone? I'll manage, Coleman replied, though his voice showed the strain of working in the poisonous environment. They reached the biocore chamber, and Coleman went to work while Davis protected him, and Veltar guided them through the ship's systems. The core was a massive, pulsing organ that seemed to be the heart of a living giant. It was beautiful and terrible, and it was dying. Coleman worked with steady hands, installing the neutralization device that would save the ship. The process was complex and dangerous, requiring precise timing and perfect coordination. One mistake could destroy the core completely. Almost done, Coleman said, sweat pouring down his face inside his helmet. Just a few more connections. Round them, the ship shuddered as the contamination continued to spread. Time was running out, and everyone knew it. There, Coleman said finally, it's done. They activated the device, and immediately the readings began to change. The contamination stopped spreading, and slowly, very slowly, the ship began to heal itself. As they made their way back through the ship, both humans and aliens watched in amazement as the gray, dead sections began to show signs of life again. The bioorganic walls started to pulse with faint light, and the air began to smell sweet once more. "It's working," Crixina announced over the communication system. "The ship is healing. We're saved." The celebration that followed was unlike anything either species had ever experienced. Humans and aliens worked together, laughed together, and shared their relief and joy. The crisis had brought them together in ways that nothing else could have. The healing of the ship was slow but steady. Over the next few hours, the bioorganic walls gradually returned to their healthy green color. The soft bioluminescence began to glow throughout the corridors once more. The air became sweet and clean again, and the ship's systems hummed with renewed life. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the alien ship's command center, watching the transformation with wonder. The room that had been dark and dying when they arrived was now filled with Nasu's gentle light and the quiet sounds of a living vessel returning to health. "It's incredible," Dr. Lisa Parker said, studying her readings. "The ship is actually healing itself. The biosystems are repairing damage that would take us weeks to fix with our technology." Chief Engineer Rick Coleman wiped sweat from his forehead. As he finished his final checks on the neutralization system, the hybrid solution is working perfectly. The human industrial components are containing the contamination, while the alien biofilters are cleaning the ship's systems. Captain Veltar approached the humans, his blue skin now glowing with healthy light instead of the pale shade it had been during the crisis. "Captain Morrison, I do not know how to thank you. You and your crew have saved not just our lives, but our ship, our mission, and our faith in the goodness of other beings." Morrison smiled, removing his helmet completely now that the ship's atmosphere was safe. "We did what anyone should do when they hear a distress call. We helped." "But that is not true," Veltar said quietly. "Many species would have ignored our call, or worse, taken advantage of our weakness. You came to help strangers, risking your own lives for beings you had never met." Crixana joined the conversation, her compound eyes reflecting the renewed light. "Of the ship, we have learned much about humans today. The stories we heard about Deathworlders were only half true. Yes, you are strong and capable of great violence, but you are also protectors and healers." "What stories did you hear about us?" Morrison asked, curious about humanity's reputation in the galaxy. "That you come from a world so dangerous that it made you into killing machines," Crixina replied. "That you fight constantly, even among yourselves. That you know only war and destruction." Security Chief Tony Davis laughed softly. "Well, we do know how to fight when we have to. Our world taught us that. But it also taught us to protect those who can't protect themselves." Dr. Parker looked up from her medical scanner. "Fighting for survival doesn't make you evil. It makes you strong enough to help others survive too." The alien crew members who had been injured by the contamination were now fully healed. Thanks to the combination of human medicine and alien healing technology, they gathered around the humans no longer afraid, but filled with curiosity and gratitude. "You saved us," said Silahan, the ship's healer. "Wait. But more than that, you showed us new ways to heal. Your medicine works differently from ours, but it works just as well. That's because we had to learn to heal injuries that our own world gave us," Dr. Parker explained. "When your environment is constantly trying to hurt you, you get very good at fixing damage." Young Zareth, who had watched the humans work in the contaminated sections, approached Davis shyly. "You were not afraid of the poison that would have killed us in minutes. How do you do that?" Davis knelt down to the young alien's level. "We're afraid. Fear keeps you alive. But we've learned that sometimes you have to go into dangerous places to help people. Our world taught us that courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about doing what's right even when you are afraid." As the two crews worked together to complete the ship's healing, they began to share knowledge and stories. The humans learned about the vast galactic civilization that existed beyond their solar system. With thousands of species working together in peace and cooperation, there is a galactic council, Veltar explained. Representatives from hundreds of worlds meet to share knowledge and resolve conflicts peacefully. We have heard rumors of humans for many years, but no one has ever made contact. What kind of rumors? Morrison asked. That there was a species on a world called Earth that had survived conditions no other known life could endure. Some said you were myths. Others said you were too dangerous to contact. Coleman shook his head. We're not myths, and we're not monsters, yet. We're just people who learned to be tough because we had to be. But that toughness makes you perfect for helping others, Crixina said. We can go places we cannot go, survive. Things we cannot survive, and solve problems we cannot solve. The aliens, in turn, shared their advanced knowledge with the humans. They showed them star maps that revealed the locations of thousands of inhabited worlds, technologies that could heal injuries in minutes, and scientific discoveries that would advance human understanding by centuries. Your people will be amazed by what you've learned here, Veltar said to Morrison. But more than that, the galaxy will be amazed by what we've learned about humans. As the time came for the ships to part ways, both crews felt a sadness at saying goodbye. In just a few hours, they had formed bonds that transcended species and changed both their worlds' understanding of the universe. This cannot be the end, Morrison said. There has to be a way for our people to meet again, to continue working together. Altar nodded eagerly. I will return to the Galactic Council with news of what happened here. I will tell them that. Humans are not the savage Deathworlders of legend, but protectors and healers who risk their lives to help others. And I will tell my people about the incredible civilization that exists out here among the stars, Morrison replied. About allies, who are waiting to share knowledge and friendship. Dr. Parker and Silahan exchanged medical information, establishing protocols for future cooperation between human and alien medicine. Coleman and Crixana shared engineering data, creating the foundation for hybrid technologies that could benefit both species. Captain Communications Officer Beth Williams said, I've established a communication protocol that will allow us to stay in contact across interstellar distances. We can arrange a meeting point where human and alien representatives can begin formal diplomatic relations. The farewell was emotional for both crews. The aliens had learned that the mysterious humans were not monsters, but heroes. While the humans had discovered that they were not alone in the universe, and that their unique strengths could help others in ways they had never imagined. As the two ships prepared to leave, Altar made a final announcement over the communication system. To our human friends, you have shown us that the galaxy is full of wonders we never expected. You answered our distress call when we thought no one would come. You risked your lives to save strangers. You have proven that the most unexpected heroes are sometimes exactly what the universe needs. Morrison responded from the New Frontiers Bridge. To our alien friends, you have shown us that we are not alone among the stars. You have shared your knowledge and your friendship. You have taught us that the universe is not a cold, empty place, but a community of beings who can help each other. Yes. The ships moved apart. Both crews looked out at the stars with new understanding. The universe was vast and full of challenges, but it was also full of friends waiting to be found. The distress call that had brought them together had become something much more important. The beginning of a new era of cooperation between species. The new frontier headed back toward Earth, carrying news that would change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. The Harmony's Edge continued its journey toward the Galactic Council, carrying the message that the legendary Deathworlders were actually the galaxy's newest protectors. In the end, both species had learned the most important lesson of all, that differences between beings can become strengths when they choose cooperation over conflict, and that the traits that make humans seem dangerous to others are the same traits that make them perfect guardians of those who need help. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how it should be.